There we go. This is great. Record. Press record again. This is going swimmingly. Isn't it crazy how I can't see the chat? Oh, it's right here. There we go. Alright. Yeah, it's coming back. Alright. What's going on, everybody? Thank you to everybody that's joining today's stream. We're just going to be having a nice little session, sculpting, talking. If you guys have anything you want to say, any questions you want to ask me, just put them in the comments or in the live chat, and I'll get to them. So, with no further interruption, I'm just going to get started on this guy. Start working. I hope everyone's having a good Friday night. Everybody that decided to come in and watch, thank y'all. So you guys understand what I'm working on and why I'm working on it. Is if you guys haven't noticed, there's a new trailer that came up a couple days ago, Godzilla vs. Kong. Now, with the trailer, I thought right now would be a great time to do a live stream working on none other than Godzilla. So, I'm just gonna sit down and just enjoy this with you guys. Like I said, if you have any questions, anything you guys want to say, just say it right down there, and I'll get to them. But yeah, let's talk about this trailer. I know there's going to be a lot of social media hype about this and who's going to win, and comparing it to Batman v Superman, calling it man versus God or monster versus God. And in my personal opinion, I have a few issues with that. If you're going to compare it to Batman vs. Superman, obviously between the fight, in a way, Batman wins, meaning monster wins. If Godzilla fights Kong, Kong will win. But I just can't see that happening. There was a lot of, I would say, like speculation that Kong winning is going to be what results to him receiving his full name, King Kong, King of the Monsters. But it's just, I don't know. I just can't see Godzilla being stripped of that title. It's such a big title that he has earned. Obviously battling one of the greatest titans, King Ghidorah. So, it's just, I don't know how it's going to go. If they're going to have multiple fights, if Kong's going to win one fight, Godzilla's going to win the other. And then obviously like the huge rumor is that Mechagodzilla is going to be involved in the fight. So they might team up at the end to mess him up. I don't know. But one thing I do feel strongly about is Kong's not going to win this battle. And if he does, I don't know. It's going to change a lot for me. Who's it that there? Who responded? Oh, yo. What's up? What's up, Jack? Thank you for joining. So yeah, and then as far as like what's going to happen after this series, I'm not really sure with that either. Who the next big baddie's going to be. I mean, after, Godzilla versus Kong, they're facing off. Godzilla faced off against King Ghidorah, one of my favorite villains. Then Mechagodzilla is going to be out of the picture, maybe. And then who's after that? who's gonna come after that? Any other characters I could think of would be like Gigan maybe, but he doesn't seem like he would pose such a high threat. I mean, other ones could be like Destroya. I mean, Destroya's a real big baddie, and in Godzilla King of the Monsters, they did reference the oxygen destroyer bomb, which was what caused Destroya to gain his powers. He was a crab, from what I can recall. They got hit with the hydrogen destroyer, oxygen bomb. I can't remember what it was called. So, that being referenced in the last movie, that could be an option for the following movie. And as far as like who the following movie is gonna revolve around, is Kong gonna get a second movie after this? Is Godzilla gonna get a second movie after this? And like one thing too, like, is this a Godzilla movie, or is this a Kong movie in Godzilla versus Kong? Or is it just like a kind of like a Civil War kind of thing where you don't really know? Actually, with Civil War, it was Captain America's Civil War, so it's his movie. I guess another example would be like Batman versus Superman. Whose movie was it? Was it Batman's or was it Superman's? So I'm just really curious, like, because if you're gonna, identify whose movie this is, I feel like that's gonna heavily influence who the winner of this movie is going to be. So I'm just not sure. I think it's going to be interesting. I'm kind of excited that it's coming out pretty soon. But yeah, obviously you guys know who I pick as winner. Godzilla. He's been an all-time favorite of mine. Not saying that I love him more than King Kong. I've loved Kong way longer and way more than Godzilla, but I don't know. I like them the same now. I like what they've done with Godzilla. I love Shin Godzilla. So I would say I like characters equally as much, but as far as who I think deserves to win, it's got to be Godzilla. I just don't know how it can't be. You can't castrate Godzilla like that. He's the king of the monsters. He's earned that title, All right, Jack. I'm kind of blind, so I'm gonna have to scoot over and see what you're.
It's
what
Brandon using a fake name. It's Brandon.
Dumb.
He said I said all my questions to Brandon on his story, which we fucking know.
Oh, Brandon. All right, I'm gonna see what he's typing because I gotta check on my phone because I can't see that far away on my laptop. Hold on. Yeah. All right.
And he also said...
What do you say?
He said, I personally think it's a Kong movie. If I had to choose, Zilla had two already and Kong only had the one. So.
Speak up a little bit? Just so this can... I think they probably got you, but I just want to make sure.
Yeah. He said, personally, I think this is a Kong movie. If I had to choose, Zilla already had two and Kong only got the one.
That's a good point. So, I mean, if this really is a Kong movie, then I don't know, maybe he might win. It would bum me out. I'm sure it would bum a lot of people out, but I mean, he is kind of like the anti-hero. So he's kind of like the anti-hero, or the underdog, I would say. And as far as why Godzilla is causing mayhem, I have no idea. He could be under control by like another sort of device similar to the Orca. Or, he could be just angry with the people. There's probably, the trailer was obviously taken out of context, everything that's going on, so either some of the issues could be explained in the beginning and the humans are confused, because they already stated the fact that the humans are confused as far as why Godzilla's destroying everything. But, it might not be, it might be visible to us as far as what the issues are with Godzilla. The fans, I guess, But, I don't know. It's going to be really interesting to see how it goes down. I'm excited for that fight, and I think it's Hong Kong that battle took place with Kong using that Godzilla spike axe, which something super cool I noticed in that scene when he's jumping down to swing at Godzilla, and Godzilla's like breathing atomic breath on the axe. It looks like it's charging up, because when he collides with Godzilla's face, there's this massive explosion, as if it's like absorbing all the atomic breath. So when he, uses it, it kind of just shoots back out the power, kind of like Black Panther with his suit, absorbs the energy and just shoots it back at him, which is really cool. And another thing, I noticed, it's like, is that axe? Did he rip it off Godzilla and use it, or was that like a ancient weapon that his ancestors used to fight? Because I was watching a lot of videos of, there's certain clips where it looks like there's flashbacks of him in the Hollow Earth, and there's obviously traces of his ancestors traveling through there. There's obviously, like, in the end of Godzilla, King of the Monsters, you see like ancient illustrations of them battling out. So if they had, an ancient battle, was that a spike from an old Godzilla? Because there was obviously other creatures like Godzilla. He's one of a kind, same as Kong. So it's just like things like that I'm just like curious, what are they going to bring to the table? What kind of lore are they going to bring to the table when the film comes out? But and as far as Mechagodzilla, I'm not really sure how he's going to come into play in the movie. Is he going to be the antagonist, or is he going to be the protagonist? Was he created by aliens, or was he created by humans to stop Godzilla on his rampage? Or is Mechagodzilla the reason Godzilla's on his rampage?
So Brennan said, "See, Kong, at least in this new one, has been seen to use his environment to his advantage. Not saying Zilla doesn't, but I just see this as a Hulk versus Abomination 2008 kind of thing."
So if the battle is going to be based off of intelligence rather than brute strength, I do agree Kong has, I think, a higher level of intelligence than Godzilla. But I mean, I don't know. Because, like, his intelligence will get him far. But when he comes face to face with an atomic breath, I mean, he's already proven he can avoid it using his axe. But, like, what if he loses it? It's not going to take much for him to lose that thing. Unless you consider, his gorilla grip. But, I just don't know. Like, you take away the axe and he's kind of done for. Like, I don't see any other way he could win this. But then again, if, the axe is going to be heavily a part of him beating Godzilla, like, I'm sure it's going to give him a shot. But with Godzilla's atomic blast, when he, like, he shoots out that radiation, like, it's just like, how's Kong going to avoid that? Or is that like a last minute thing that he's going to use? So if he would try to use it on Kong and he misses, immediately Kong gets the upper hand.
And we got a comment from another watcher, Jake. There was a theory that they're both the last of their species and their ancestors were at war at one point. That's probably where the axe comes in, is like that was their method or something.
That's a good point. So it might be the fact that, because in the hieroglyphics, or what would you call it, the cave drawings of Godzilla, or the ancient battle of Godzilla versus fighting King Ghidorah, you don't really know which Godzilla that is. I'm pretty sure it's the same King Ghidorah because it's an alien, creature that was sent from space. So if it's one of a kind, it's probably the same King Ghidorah in that drawing. But if that's the same Godzilla, because in those hieroglyphics of Kong fighting Godzilla, those could be different. Those probably are different Titans. Those could be Godzilla's ancestors, and it could be one of Kong's ancestors. But that doesn't necessarily mean they're enemies. But I'm sure maybe that's a part of Godzilla's rampage, is he has that instinct to fight off anything that challenges his title as king. That's why he went after King Ghidorah as soon as it was awoken. It was immediately a threat to his title and to his reign. So maybe Kong is Skull Island is so secluded from the world. Maybe it's not touchable or reachable by Godzilla, or maybe he's not aware of it, so he can't possibly sense Kong. But the moment Kong comes closer to the main shore, to the mainland, that's when Kong becomes an issue. And that's why Godzilla goes after him. And I don't know, maybe they could be friends afterwards. Maybe they realize their ancestors were at war, not them, and there's no need to kill each other. Or they're bringing Kong to the mainland to kill Godzilla.
Right, I think Zilla's definitely got a shot in with his breath, but it could have been a graze. Could be a learning curve for Kong to watch out for. That's why he was prepped and blocked in the trailer.
That's a good point too. Kong is an intelligent creature, so maybe through each, if he does get a second battle with Godzilla, through each battle, he learns something, picks something up, and the next time he fights it, he doesn't make the same mistake. And that could lead to maybe Godzilla being victorious the first match on the aircraft carriers, and then Kong coming back for second round, and maybe he gets the upper hand. And then instead of a tiebreaker, they just fight Mecha Godzilla. Lots of options. But yeah, I'm really excited to see how it's gonna end. And obviously they're gonna have like a sneak peek at the end of the movie to see, which characters are gonna face off at the end. It seems like that's gonna be an accustomed thing through these MonsterVerse movies, kind of foreshadowing the next battle, the next big baddie, whoever it's gonna be. Or maybe Kong dies in this one. I mean, King Kong's legacy is to be killed. So, the Empire State Building, obviously, all you fans that know about Kong, he's shot off by planes and falls to his death. So maybe, his death might be kind of mirrored in this new movie. He could make a sacrificial death for Godzilla to win. Like, he could win against Godzilla, then they both battle off to fight Mecha Godzilla, but then Kong dies, so his title of King of the Monsters is stripped, obviously, because he's dead. Godzilla takes his spot back. So I don't know. I really don't know where they're gonna go with this. If Mothra's gonna come back in it, because obviously there was like a little Easter egg of an egg that was discovered along shore somewhere, which in the OG Godzilla movies, every time Mothra would die, she would leave an egg and she would just reincarnate herself in that egg. So we might see her in this movie. Who knows? Or they might wait till a fourth movie to bring her back.
Brennan said, I honestly hate the Mecha Godzilla theory. I know it's going to happen, but I want to see Kong fight Zilla, nothing else. But that won't happen. We're going to get close shots of Millie Bobby Brown running or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, It's just I don't really know how they would, incorporate Mechagodzilla in a way that doesn't seem too similar to Batman versus Superman. Two characters fight with a righteous heart, end up realizing the real villain is someone else and not each other. I don't know. I kind of want to just see them kill each other. Only one can rule at this point. And I'd honestly prefer Godzilla. Because Kong, his legacy is to die, so I'm cool with that. We got a few movies of him. We got one movie of Kong. But and it wasn't that great either, to be honest. I think a part of it was Brie Larson's obnoxious personality. Or maybe it was just Samuel Jackson's,
Samuel L. Jackson.
Samuel Jackson's-ness. He really had no purpose on why he wanted to kill Kong other than to feel like he had a purpose. I mean, I guess it killed his men, but to be honest, he's the reason his men are dead. They were all ready to go back home, and he dragged them into another suicidal mission. Or he didn't know it was a suicidal mission, but I don't know. His character wasn't convincing. And then the main character, I can't remember his name, the big jolly guy that was like the center point of the movie, but then ended up getting eaten halfway through. It was just, he didn't say any lines once they got on the island. It's like they wrote off his character to give Brie Larson more screen time. But it was an alright movie. Kong was the best actor of all of it.
Well, Brandon also said, I want to fight to the death, really. I don't care who dies. Just make it a legit battle.
Yeah, I hope it's a legit battle.
It's going to be like Batman vs. Superman, where it's a legit battle for 15
Mothra!
10, 15 minutes, and then it'll just be...
You gotta save Mothra!
Why did you say that name? That shit's so stupid.
Yeah. But, yeah, it would be nice for them to just really go all the way. Give them a to the death battle. But it's not going to happen. I doubt it. Those are, Kong and Godzilla are going to be their biggest players to making money for the rest of the MonsterVerse franchise. You take away Kong, and it's who else do you have other than Godzilla to be a main protagonist? It's supposed to be a MonsterVerse. Or, I mean, you got Mothra, but that's boring, What does Mothra do? She, slices you with her little scissor hands? But, so if you take Kong out of the equation, there's not much of a MonsterVerse. I mean, the only other characters I can see you trying to tie in, or trying to see them tie in, would be maybe Gamera, if they want to go that route. Gamera's not in. I don't think it takes place in the universe of Godzilla, but it's definitely a character that if they decide to cross over. I mean, they were mentioning crossing over Pacific Rim, which would be a terrible idea, but I just can't see any other protagonists in the Godzilla universe unless they create one. I mean, they created a villain and I liked it, the Mutos. But that's just about it.
Brandon just said, hey Rob, what tools you use the most to sculpt?
The tools I use the most to sculpt. I don't know, it kind of just varies on what I'm working on. If I'm working on something big, I use big tools, and I use them till I can break it down to smaller tools. And those smaller tools, I use fine point tools. But I guess the tool I use the most would probably be like this guy. This loop tool. It just comes in handy. It works for all sizes, big, small. So, yeah, I use this guy a lot. Other tools I use is kind of just to like place clay, move clay around, is this tool. I don't really use this side as much. I mostly use the wooden side. And these, when you buy them, they come a lot fatter at the tip. But I like to kind of treat them as an extension of my finger. And since I don't have fingernails and I have a fat finger, I shave it down. Oh, memory card's full. But yeah, I like shave it down and make a nice fine point tip. So when I'm, grabbing clay, kind of just grab it like that. I can kind of just like place it wherever I need to and smear it. It's just kind of like a useful tool. One second. Can you replace that in there with the other chip and then press record again?
Where is it?
It's in there. Thoughty. I have to replace the camera chip because if I'm just using the camcorder to record the live stream, the camera will just go to sleep and you'll see the sleep screen. So I just have to keep it recording the whole time. But even though it like automatically records on YouTube and then I'll post it through YouTube, I don't need the actual memory card, but so it just stays on. But yeah, I would say like these tools, wooden tools. I use a lot of wooden tools.
You just said I haven't used that wood tool. Definitely something I'll look out for later.
Yeah, and you can make them too. Like I have a bunch I've made, but I just like this one I made, but I snapped the tip of it. I used to use this one a lot, but since it's been getting like super cold, the clay has been getting really hard, so trying to like smear, you have to put a lot of pressure into it, and then this one just like snapped. And I made this one like super fine at the tip, specifically just to get into those tight corners, so that's why it broke. It was kind of weak, but this one I use a lot too, this paddle. This is mostly for like big stuff, but... And sometimes instead of like a paddle, if you need to get like really small, I'll use like a little, it's kind of like a little metal bowl tip. And this one's for like really tiny areas. Trying to get into those places your fingertip can't reach. Yeah. With like sculpting, I kind of just treat it like moving clay around. I try not to carve too much. Sometimes you gotta carve, you need, I guess like this would be like a carving tool. This one's definitely a carving tool. It just helps you stay more organized and clean when you're sculpting. To just try to place as much, try to not have to go back as much. Just really try to pay attention to where you're placing something. Because the worst part is when you build up this whole area and then you realize it's too fat. You have to go in with like a carving tool or a rig tool like this and just scrape it all back down, which I've done too many times, and it's just a hassle of a process. If you're not sculpting out of marble, there's no reason to chisel away your clay. Yeah.
Dylan said, what are your short-term goals?
Short-term goals. I guess that's a tough one, because, I always try to think big. I'm always thinking about 10 years from now, where I'm trying to be in 10 years, rather than where I'm trying to be in 2 years or 1 year. But sometimes, I just sit down and I kind of dwell on where my life is headed and where I want it to head within a certain amount of time. I kind of set like checkpoints. So I guess like if I were to refer to like my checkpoints in life, within I guess my earliest checkpoint is to have this done in the next 2 to 3 months. And after that, try to go back to vending. I've been taking a break from kind of just marketing my products. Because I just been selling the same thing over and over again. And as much as like I wouldn't mind making a few sales here and there, it gets too repetitive making the same thing over and over again. And I like to just have variety. So, finishing this guy, it would help me just kind of get back into that comfortable zone of making new things. And I like to create new things, and I don't like to do the same thing over and over again. I'm not a machine. I'm not a printer. I'm an artist, and I like, just doing new things. So yeah, like in a couple months, hopefully this is done. Hopefully I can get back on track. As far as why I'm doing, videos and stuff, it's because I just want to, when promoting yourself as an independent artist or as a business, you need variety of sources to market yourself. And if you were to stick to just something like Instagram, it's off again, Brandon. Just tap the screen and push record. Yeah, it's gonna keep doing that. Sorry, but yeah, I'm trying to find different avenues to market myself. Just because if I stick to one thing, there's only so far a certain marketing tool can get you. Like as far as Instagram, there's only so far it can get you before you need to try new things out. Going out and meeting people, there's only so far that can get you. Doing online things, you have the opportunity to reach more people, and that's my goal with my YouTube channel, is just to reach more people, network with more people. Like I don't want this to just be me in my basement sculpting. I'd prefer to share it with a couple people. Show everybody what I do on my spare time, or on my majority of the time. This isn't my spare time anymore. This is what I do full time. But it's just kind of nice. So yeah, going back to the question of where I see myself in a couple years. Hopefully, getting far with this, getting far with what I'm doing, making it a successful marketing tool for myself, and try to build a community with people out there that enjoy the things I enjoy, and get to the point where I can just sculpt what I love for a living and have people out there share how much they like it, and share how much they like my art and what I do. That's just my goals. My goal is to be happy as an artist. Happiness is hard to come by. It's hard to come around, and I find happiness in what I do. And if you take that away from me, you give me a 9-to-5 job, I'm miserable. Doesn't matter what I'm doing. If it's not art, I'm not happy. So yeah.
So going back to the sculpting, because Brendan had one more question, but it came up right after I changed the subject.
Oh, it's fine.
He said, wish I got myself a turntable. I'm over here yanking the head form off the table because it's stuck with clay just to turn the thing.
Yeah, turning table is very important for me. I can't, just sliding it back and forth, you start to lose a lot of dimension in your sculpture. Because if it's on a flat surface, and this is just for me. I'm not speaking aloud for all other sculptors, but having something where you can turn constantly while you're working, you start to see this in a three-dimensional aspect instead of like a two-dimensional surface, because if it's not moving, you start to look at it as a drawing. And in a drawing, all you have is texture. You don't have form. You don't have dimension. And when you're like this, something that you could be sculpting for a while and it looks flat, you wouldn't be able to see it until you turn it like this. So when you're constantly going back and forth with your sculpture, it maintains this three-dimensional look to it. You don't start to lose that, and you don't start to get comfortable treating it like a drawing. And that's why I use a turntable. But yeah, it comes in handy. You can make one or you could try to buy one. I think it would be easier just to make one because you can make it as custom to what you like. You know, if there's a certain amount of space in your room, and you can only make you can only have a turntable, and they're so big. You know, the fact that you can make it yourself is a lot easier. Just get a board, a square board like this. This is just plywood stained. I guess mine's a little bit more complicated the way I do it, but they have like the ball bearing joints or whatever you call it, the little like the little metal thing that like allows it to turn. You just screw it onto the board, and then you can screw it onto a table, or if you want to just leave it loose, you know, just it's not really complicated to make. You can even find like a round table. Like I know at Home Depot they sell these like big circle pieces of wood. You can use that.
Brent said, I feel that I'm not really hoping I can do this full time. I got offered my old job back, but I turned it down because I'm focused on turning my art into a real thing for myself.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you got to make that sacrifice. I guess if I were to get personal about all this, like, I quit my job, my really good paying job, to do sculpting and to prioritize on that and try to make it my one and only source of income. I was working at a place called Ironhead Studios. It's, in my opinion, the number one specialty costuming company in the world. They've done stuff like creating the Ben Affleck bat suit, Loki's helmet from Avengers, Black Panther, Wonder Woman, the Amazing Spider-Man 2 suit. Like, they have a huge, you know, record or history of, you know, movies, and the owner, Jose Fernandez, which is, you know, in my opinion, one of the best sculptors in the industry. You know, he's been working on Batman movies since the beginning. So he just has this huge portfolio. You know, he's built this huge resume of himself. You know, and then, you know, what he's grown from his company, you know, he has the right to say, like, he has one of the best companies in the industry. But, you know, working there, I just wasn't happy. No matter how much you pay me, no matter how cool it is, the stuff I'm working on, if it's not clay, if it's not painting, I'll be miserable. And, you know, since I was around 17 when I first started sculpting, you know, I knew this was like what I wanted to do forever. Like, there's no doubt about that. And once I got into the industry, I was 18 when I started working at Ironhead. It was, you know, Ironhead became everything to me. I erased my goal of being an artist to focus on being whatever, you know, the boss wanted me to be, which there's nothing at all wrong with it. That's obviously, that's how it is, you know? Wherever you work, you're what the boss wants you to be. Not what you want to be. And I understood that. So, you know, I had this idea that I was going to work my way up into being a sculptor, and the more I realized the traditional sculpting industry was dying and digital was taking over, I realized I had to find a different avenue of work in order to make it to where I want to be. And one of the best ways to kind of just do whatever you want to do, whether it's no longer a career or not, is just get paid for doing it. Not for making the product and selling it or having clients, but just to be able to do it. And that's why I'm doing videos, because it's like, if there can be a certain point where I can just do this, just to do this, and not have to worry about deadlines, not have to worry about, you know, if the customer's going to like it, but I'm doing it just because I love it. And I just, you know, I send it out there for people to see, people to enjoy. You know, that's the best kind of employment there is. But obviously, I'm not opposed to taking commission work. You know, that's great too. You know, I would love to be able to sculpt something, have someone enjoy that in their house, for however long they decide to keep it. But yeah, like at the end of the day, like I'm selfish about it. Like I want to use my art for enjoyment, not for suffering for someone else. I don't want to suffer for anyone else, just for myself. Not to say I did at my old job. I'm just like using a broad example of, you know, what working for someone could eventually lead to. It's just kind of living for someone, and I don't want to live for anybody. But I am extremely grateful with the opportunities I've been given in my life, because, you know, that has also nudged me forward to understanding more of what I'm doing and how to do it. Being able to work around some of the best in the industry, it's very humbling, and it's a great learning environment as well. You know, and that's where I picked up a lot of my techniques and skills, because no one ever taught me to sculpt. You know, I took one class, and it's really hard to remember a course that lasted only a few days and try to remember that forever. Obviously, like the things I did learn there that were very, I guess, useful, you know, they've stuck with me. But other than that class, like I haven't learned from anybody how to sculpt, and it's been a struggle for me. It's always been a struggle trying to pick up a technique that I've never seen before. You know, like what's a technique for sculpting skin textures? You know, there's no books on it. There's no videos on it. There might be like one or two, but they're not really great videos. Actually, no, there is one good video on skin textures, but like other than that, like you want to learn how to sculpt scales, you want to learn how to do this, you know, you want to learn how to create this, how to look out for certain things, you know, not having a teacher and not having a school to learn from, and just trying to figure this out on your own, reading books, watching videos. Even sometimes like I would watch like just like Animal Planet, see how animals move, see how natural it is for something to turn its head, to open its mouth. You know, you have to take into consideration all these things, and it's kind of hard, you know, when you're trying to do it on your own, especially because I kind of started late. I would say I started late. You know, I've been drawing since I was in kindergarten, probably before that too. You know, ever since I could pick up a pencil, I was drawing, and I had those years of experience. So when I was old enough, you know, I felt confident, and I was pretty fast illustrating. Like it would take me, you know, 8 hours to do a massive pen and ink drawing. Sometimes way less, sometimes an hour, sometimes 2 hours. It wouldn't take me long to do much. But with sculpting, since I picked it up at such a later age, at like I was like 17, maybe a little older, I didn't know about tools. I didn't know about much of the effects industry at the time. I didn't even know about oil-based clay. I was sculpting with pottery clay, and it was just a really difficult process for me to understand what I'm doing and how to do it. Like it's easy to draw something, especially like even if you're just looking at it. It doesn't have to be a photo. It could be like a still drawing of someone sitting down or whatever. But you know, you can kind of just like trace it out in your head, and it's easy to just replicate it on paper. But when you're physically creating something, you're not looking at one side, you're looking at a whole 360 view. And to replicate that, when I was 16, it was a difficult process to kind of understand how to do it, because I didn't know where to go to learn things. It wasn't until I started working at Ironhead that I started to understand the process of clay, the process of sculpting, the process of molding, the process of casting, the process of painting. And after that is when I really started building my skill set in sculpting, my understanding in sculpting. It was easier for me now because I had a base to grow upon. You know, when I was in high school, I didn't have a foundation to grow from. It was more just kind of do what I think is right. And I'm sure if I would have kept going without any knowledge, I would have made it there eventually, but I definitely did not have a direction when I was younger, and that kind of hindered me from progressing at the rate, you know, I wanted to. Because with illustrating, you know, there's tons of illustration out there. There's tons of reference. There's tons of videos, and you know, even though I was a self-learner when it came to drawing, you know, I did it for so many years, my whole life, so it was kind of second nature to me. So now I have to rebuild that skill set, except this time using clay. So it's an interesting process. I learn through every drawing or every sculpture. I learn something new. I learn a technique here and there. Even just by seeing other artists' work, I learn from there. And, you know, I'm getting there at some point. I'll get there at some point. Even though I'm a little behind, I won't ever give up on this. This is my passion and my drive. And that's why I do it. And that's why I want to do it independently. It's a therapy for me in short terms.
And Brandon said, I'm in the same boat, dog. It was very much a struggle for me. Last time I sculpted anything was a mug in 7th grade. This stuff is so tough. But I think that's the beauty of being an artist, learning as you go and slowly seeing it come to life. And you saw how his Michael Myers,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
that's his first thing.
One thing I've
he's
noticed.
doing good.
Yeah. One thing I've learned, as from any artist, is that you progress through each project. And it's always through each project because you learn something through each project. So even if you've only sculpted once, you sculpt the same thing a second time, and you're going to see a significant difference. You sculpt it a third time, and you'll see a significant difference. And you just keep going from there. And obviously the difference between, you know, you'll get to like the 50th one and then the 51st one, you know, the difference between them might be a little different. But you zoom forward past that, and it's like you're going to compare the 50th sculpture you did to the 60th sculpture you did, and there's a huge jump from that. And, you know, for a lot of people I know, you know, when you're learning art, it comes fast the harder you work. The more you do, the more stuff you get done, the faster you learn, the faster you grow. It's just like working out. The more you work out, the stronger you get, the bigger you get. You know, you start slacking, you go, you know, once a week or, you know, twice a month, you're not going to see as much results. But, you know, sometimes you feel the results even after one workout. You feel the pump. You feel yourself getting bigger. Same thing with art. Your brain is a muscle, and you just got to exercise it.
So another Instagram question from Brandon. He's pretty much claimed all the damn Instagram questions. He said, let me zoom it in so you can read it. Are you going to finish
I'll finish
my
it.
walking face show?
I'll finish it. So, my buddy that keeps sending all those questions commissioned me to work on a Spider-Man face shell for him. And I started it, and I got pretty far. The only problem is, so much work came in after it. I never got a chance to go back to it. Now it's collecting dust. But yeah, it was a Spider-Man face shell. The shell's done. The only thing I have left to do is the lenses. And these have a significant amount of dust as well.
Yeah, but those are prototypes, so.
Yeah, they're pretty much
really matter.
prototypes. But yeah. I was going to replace because I had some like kind of vinyl mesh in there, that white honeycomb look. I was going to replace it with metal. But finding the metal is difficult. And I think I have some sheets, but I just have to go through, I have to degrease them, scuff them down, and then paint them white. So it's just this whole process I've been procrastinating on. But I'll get them done. I'll get them done, Brandon. Don't worry. And if I can't get them done, I'll make this Brandon. I'll make Brandon number 2 do them.
Okay. He said, "Are you stoked for the Scavenger trailer?"
The Scavenger trailer.
The real question is, are you guys stoked for the Scavenger trailer?
Yeah, the real question is, are you guys stoked for the Scavenger trailer? So, for those of you that aren't up to date with the things I've been working on, I recently did a 3-video series of the making of the Scavenger, which is a character I somewhat created. It's obviously a stormtrooper that exists. It's okay. So the whole premise of the story is a rogue stormtrooper who hides from the Empire on Tatooine. You know, throughout the years, he finds new ways to create income. Or throughout the years, you know, he evolves into this kind of hermit in a way. Like he's just secluded from the galaxy. All he does is just he scavenges for money. Like that's why the whole series is called The Scavenger. And that's why he looks the way he does, because he's just a corroded stormtrooper. Doesn't clean his armor, nothing. You know, he's changed his outfit here and there. It's all, you know, it's just unique and different. He's kind of like a mixture of a scavenger / bounty hunter, but all that, like at some point he scavenges the wrong bounty, which is supposed to be Luke's lightsaber that he lost on Cloud City, and we never see it until The Force Awakens comes out. And I think there was a comic book that kind of described a scavenger who took the saber, and I kind of filled in the gap, and the scavenger that took the saber is my character, which is the rogue stormtrooper. There's this whole mission, or the whole story is the Empire discovering him. You know, he's a deserter. You know, punishable. You know, being a deserter could be punishable by prison, and in his case, it's punishable by death. So now there's a bounty out for him. He's just running from the Empire. Vader becomes involved when he realizes the item he possesses is of high importance to him, because it's the only, other than Luke, you know, it's one of the only connections to Anakin Skywalker that he has, and he just wants it gone. The scavenger becomes a big nuisance for the Empire, so there's like I said, a bounty hunter sent out to get him. He fails. Then he becomes such a nuisance to the Empire. Vader becomes involved, just for a short minute, because I know Vader had a lot of things that were going on between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, so I don't want to, you know, mess with the canon. But yeah, the final battle sequence is is the scavenger pretty much running away from Vader, and it's just like a story I created. And the trailer that Brandon was referring to is kind of like a teaser to kind of help get people on board with the project, because obviously, like, the project I have in mind is not going to be cheap. It's going to cost me at least like 10 grand. I mean, the most expensive thing is going to be sets, and me being the artist, I don't have to pay for anyone to do it. It's just going to be me. All I need to cover is costs of material and stuff like that. I also have to pay for a crew for a week of shooting, because I'm only going to shoot it for a week if it ends up happening. But that's why I'm releasing this trailer, is to kind of help get people excited and maybe want to be involved. Therefore, at the end of the trailer, I'm going to make a Patreon or something to kind of entice people to donate. And it's going to be 100% non-profit at this point. Or it was never planned to be 100% profit, because I just want to invest all of it into making it happen. Just because this character I've been kind of working on since I was like 18 years old. I'm like 21 now. So it's been a few years I've had this character in mind, and I barely finished the suit, and now I just wanna be able to make this movie. And that was my way to get people on board, was to make a 3-part series of the making of the character so that people, are aware of what it is. So when I drop the trailer, it's not random, because if I were to just drop the trailer is only like a minute, and the scavenger's in it only for like maybe 30 seconds, probably less. Like, it's really, really short. It doesn't even have like a full, shot of him, because it's taken out of a whole scene that I created for the movie. I just decided to record that certain part of the script because it was the only cinematic scene that I could see kind of opening people's eyes up to maybe want to be a part of it. But yeah, so once I release the clip, hopefully, people are a little bit aware of it, and hopefully more people become aware of it. And if, it becomes a thing where there's enough people that want to, donate to the cause of making the series, it would be sick. It would be really sick because, it's something I wanted to do for so long, and I haven't really seen that side of Star Wars touched as far as what happened to Luke's lightsaber. So I feel like it would be very interesting to kind of open up that topic and kind of, continue that story without making it cheesy, because I've seen a lot of fan films. A lot of them are good, but then a lot of them are kind of cheesy, and I don't want to make a cheesy one, especially like how long I've took to create that costume. I would love it to be great.
Brandon also said, what's the hardest thing you've tried to mold?
Hardest thing I've tried to mold.
Brandon.
Yeah. The hardest thing I tried to mold was my friend Brandon. There's 2 Brandons that I've been referring to this whole time. One of them's typing on the live chat, and the other one's sitting right in front of me.
One of us our biggest fan.
But yeah, Brandon's live cast. You can see on the Joker project that that's where I live cast him. That was so hard. And the reason it was so hard was because a live cast isn't supposed to be done by one person. It's at minimum a 2-person project. And there's a reason for that. Being under like a 1/4 inch of silicone is such a claustrophobic feeling that you have to finish it within at least 20 minutes. At max, it should be a 20-minute job. Because if you're doing an actor, you're doing... it doesn't matter who you're doing, really. Like, whoever you're live casting is going to get claustrophobic. And it's going to be a very uncomfortable experience for them. So being a one-man army, trying to get that done...
I was the one-man army.
It was very nerve-wracking because I had to, on top of mixing the silicone as fast as I could, pouring it on him, also making sure his nostrils didn't get plugged up, which one of them did, and I didn't know, which is scary because...
And I couldn't tell you.
The fact that I wasn't aware of it. If the other one did, I mean, if both nostrils got clogged, I would be aware of it because he'd be flaring in his seat, mumbling, "I can't breathe."
You imagine that happening? We were close.
Yeah, it was close, but yeah, it's really hard to manage, mixing as fast as you can because the silicone is still dripping on him. Because I'm not waiting for the silicone to dry before I put a new layer, because if I did that, then, it would be a lot longer. So it took me, because I recorded the whole thing, it took me about 1 hour and 30 minutes to live cast him. So he was under silicone for about 1 hour and 30 minutes. Breathing out of one nostril. The scary thing about that, and it might not seem like a lot to you, like 1 hour and 50 minutes, that's like shorter than a movie. It's like, yeah, but like if you're seeing nothing but black
and hearing
hearing nothing because your ears are covered too, and you can barely breathe. It's a terrifying experience. And then on top of that, when you start placing the plaster on his head, it gets warm in there. And from my experience, when you're claustrophobic, the last thing you want to feel is heat, because it just makes it, I don't know what it is, but for me it just makes it harder to kind of control your claustrophobia, I guess. I don't know, but Brandon hung in there like a champ.
For me, the worst part about the heat, it wasn't feeling the heat, because that was comforting, because we're in a cold metal room.
Yeah.
But the thing that sucked with the heat was I'm breathing out of one nostril, and when you had to heat up the front of my face, it's just hot air going in one nostril, and I can't breathe.
Yeah.
That was the worst part. Of the whole experience, that was the worst part. Not even the one nostril getting plugged, because I'm like, if I just go into Zen and focus, I can breathe out of one nostril and I'll get through it. But not being able to breathe out of that one nostril because it's just hot air going up your nose, it's like putting a hairdryer in your face.
Yeah.
The worst. The worst.
But yeah, it was for a joke. Obviously, the Joker project. It was for a commission piece that he had me do. I decided to make a video out of it because I thought it'd be really cool. And I told him, I'm like, I'm only gonna need half of your face to sculpt the mask because it was only a half mask. And he was like, no, I want the whole thing. So I was like, screw it, you're gonna get the whole thing. But yeah, it was that. To answer the question, yes, that was the hardest thing I've ever molded. The hardest thing. It was the hardest person.
Yeah, the shit that sucks about it is I'm about to lose 100 pounds, so we're gonna have to do it again if we're gonna make anything that'll fit my head after that.
Yeah, Brandon's on a weight loss goal, so the life cast that I did of him was him at his heaviest, and considering I'm making a mask for him, it's not gonna fit him if he loses too much weight.
I'm still kind of fat now. It's only been a month in, but
yeah, the
it'll
more
change
this
by
shrinks,
by next year it'll be different.
I already started the sculpture, which sucks. So the more weight he loses, if I were to finish the sculpture, it would just be saggy. So I gotta revisit it and try to make it work to if he was at normal weight. Not that he's not at normal weight, but if he were to slim out a little bit more.
A lot bit more.
But yeah. Next question.
You want me to ask that Dr. Phil question?
No, Dr. Phil question.
Brandon knows what we're talking about. We're not even going to continue with that. The answer will obviously be Dr. Phil because he'll get me meme famous, and then I'll become a rapper like Cash Me Outside Girl.
You're stupid, right?
So, he said, "How's the Mando helmet going?" He said, "How's Mando going?" But you're no longer working on the show, so
yeah.
How's the current project you're working on going for Mando?
To no one that caught that, I worked on Mandalorian season 2, which was great. I begged my boss to let me on that show because it was such a small project that it wasn't a small project, but it was such a minimal project that Ironhead contributed, which is Bo-Katan's outfit. I mean, compared to the whole series, she was only in there for like 2 episodes. But yeah, I worked on helping on the assembly line for putting her suit together, which was great. So it was like, yeah, and I begged my boss. I was like, if you need any help, just let me know. I'll come late no matter what time. So he told me, he's like, did you get everything? Are you on schedule with whatever you need to get done? And I was like, I could get on schedule, and I can come by when I'm done. And I spent the whole day just grinding out whatever I needed to do. And then it was like, I guess the end of my work day, it was like 6:30. I helped out on The Mandalorian for like, I think it was like three or four nights straight, till like 12 to 1 in the morning. It was great. It was a great experience. I was exhausted after that, obviously, but because I also went home after that to work on my stuff. But it was amazing to be able to work on The Mandalorian show. But to go back to what Brandon's question was, how's Mando doing? He's referring to the helmet I posted on my Instagram a while back. It's on hold. I couldn't really figure out the visor part, I purchased a visor from a few places. None of them fit. They were either too small or too thick, and I couldn't work it into the helmet. And it might just be the helmet's fault because it's such a thick casting, but it's a beautiful helmet. But I need to figure out an alternative to the visor without going cheap and getting like a flexible plexiglass tinted and just cutting it out and gluing it in there. I feel like that would be weird. I'd rather get like a vacuum formed piece. But other than the visor, the automotive paint is ridiculously expensive right now, so I'm kind of just waiting till Vader's helmet's done so I can just make that jump and buy a gallon of primer and the gloss black, and then I gotta buy a sealer, and on top of that I have to buy a spray gun, and then on top of that, I gotta buy a polish wheel. So there's a lot of things I gotta do before I can paint the helmet. So once I finish Vader and I'm like, okay, I'm painting Vader's helmets now, painting his helmet now, I can do the Mandalorian at the same time. And it's like a better investment, but I also need the mirror chrome, which my buddy Sam from Imperial Surface, he's hooking it up for me. So once he ships it, I also have another incentive to get the rest of the automotive paint, because I have to start off with an automotive primer, then an automotive black clear or black gloss, and then I have to buy a clear for that. I have to polish the black gloss, then add a clear, then polish that, then add the mirror chrome, and then I probably won't seal it because I don't know if they sealed the original one, which makes it more vulnerable to scuffs. So I might just have it as a display piece. But yeah, it's on hold. To answer the question short, it's on hold. But once I do get started on the helmet, I'm also going to start on another part of my display, which is, I'll take it out. I bought this 3D printed blaster gun from the Mandalorian. I feel like a nerd just like taking out my toys, but I love it. I love it. So it's like all disassembled, so I need to go in and body shop it to like a machine finish. And then I'm going to paint this one too, and that's going to be a part of my display piece, because I have the Sideshow Baby Yoda. All it's missing is, and I have the Boba Fett helmet, so all I need is my Mandalorian helmet and then his blaster. And I bought the Darksaber too, which is sick. So I just want to have this sick display wall full of my stuff. But yeah, once I get on that Mandalorian, I'm just going to go full force on it, because I'm also going to make a video out of it too.
Yeah, I was going to say, safe to say, expect videos on all those things.
Yeah, so when the helmet's done, you'll know, because I'll probably post a video about it, which would be really exciting, because I like doing Star Wars stuff for my channel. Like the scavenger is super fun to do, and then after that I'm just like, where do I go with doing anything else that's creative related to Star Wars? Because Star Wars is like, it's like, other than Jurassic Park, it's like my number one influence in sculpting and in the effects world and all that stuff, just because it was such a part of like my childhood, especially that cantina scene. With all those monsters and all those creatures in there, a lot of the Rick Baker masks that he used, like it was just like a very memorable like moment for me growing up. And then if we get into Jurassic Park, that whole movie inspired me. Like that was the only reason I did this really, but that and Star Wars. But yeah, so I want to influence Star Wars heavily in my channel as far as like the stuff I make. That's why my logo is literally my own interpretation of a different type of Mandalorian helmet. Like I like it. It's what I like, so it's what I chose to make as my logo. So yeah, I want to do more Star Wars stuff. So after this, the Scavenger is going to get posted next week, and then after that, I might start working on a new sculpture. One thing I wanted to sculpt was like a Yoda. I've sculpted how many Yodas? I've sculpted 3 Yodas my whole life, and I'm looking to do a 4th. It's going to be a bust, like most of my sculptures. It's just bust, a mini bust. That's kind of the style I like going with. It keeps me from finishing it, or it keeps me focused on it, because it's not this huge, life-size piece where I'm trying to, finish the head, then I got to finish the hands, I got to finish the feet. I get to focus on the center point of the character, which is, the most important part of a character. So I guess that's the way I put it. Like all my busts I make, like my Frankenstein bust, if you haven't seen on my Instagram, I just focused on him. It's just Frankenstein's head. I did at one point try sculpting the rest of him. That didn't go well. We went through a heat wave this summer, or last summer, and the armature was strong, but it wasn't, I didn't make it where the clay was reinforced onto it. So literally at the old house I was living at, I went back home for a weekend, and the heat wave hit, and I think it was like 100, 120. It was something crazy. I can't remember. And I remember coming back into my room, and it was just on the floor, like just soft as pudding. Like it just like melted off the armature. Like it was so weird. Like the armature was there, just the clay just like came off of it. It got so hot in there because the house I had didn't have AC. It was terrible. There's no AC, no heater, so the winters were terrible. And the summers were as hot as it can get, and my sculpture melted. So I kind of just put that sculpture aside. I still have the hands for it. They're displayed in my shop. Those aren't damaged, but the body is. The body's in a 5-gallon bucket, just sitting in the corner of my shop, waiting for me to go back to it. I didn't give up on it. I think I have a post of it on my Instagram. It's just like the ab area, or like the rib cage area. And that's as far as I got. Like I sculpted, I got pretty far. The whole right side of the leg was done. The biceps, the abdominal area, the back was done. And it was literally just the left leg I needed to sculpt. And I didn't finish it because I ran out of clay, and I was going to save up a little bit and just buy a bunch of it. So even when I finished the sculpture, I had some extra to start on the next project. And I waited too long, and it croaked before I got a chance to finish it, which was a bummer. But yeah, I'll eventually go back to it. But yeah, I do like to stick to this style. And, with everything that's happened with the full-size pieces I've done, like the Frankenstein falling apart, this just feels safer. I can't control my temperature in my shop. I don't know if you can see, but it's cold in here. I could see my breath. I can see Brandon's breath too.
I'm starting to not feel my fingers anymore, so
Yeah.
I can't imagine sculpting.
I can't feel my toes. Oh, the clay's warm, so my hands are warm.
Oh yeah, screwed.
But my toes are freezing.
Well, you're not wearing shoes.
Yeah, I'm wearing house shoes. I'm wearing flip-flops right now. But
That's why.
But yeah, because of that, right now my shop's still in construction. As you can see, I have 1, 2, 3 panels up, and then right here is missing a panel all the way at the end. It's just like insulation. It's like a roll of insulation that I haven't put up. That whole wall is just insulation. I haven't put up any of the drywall, or I'm going to use actually plywood because there's a lot of things I'm going to mount to it. It's going to be a whole display wall. I don't think you guys know the size of my shop or what it looks like, but I think at some point I'll make a video showing off my shop and when it's done. But yeah, like I have this whole plan for this side of the wall. But until I start on that wall, I can't mount on my mini split. So I'm going to buy a mini split for the shop, which it like cools and heats up like the one I'm getting is like 40 feet, 40 by 40 square foot, which is just about the size of this shop. Maybe it's a little smaller. I mean, maybe my shop's a little bigger than that, but it should be enough to cool down my shop. But the mini split's gonna go right there. So until I finish that wall, I can't really mount any of it. So going back, I rant on a lot, but I won't be able to. If I can't control the heat in here, I'm gonna be very specific on what I'm sculpting because I don't want it getting messed up. Like something like this is so small, if it really gets too hot or too cold in here, I could just put it in my room and leave it there. and work on it there, which I've been doing for most of the winter. But now, since most of it's insulated, it's easier to control cold air. So I've just been sculpting in here.
Okay, Brandon also asked on Instagram, any personal advice on how to save as much of my sculpt as possible after the molding process?
So if you're trying to preserve your sculpture after the mold, I think you start to get in a different realm of your priority. Because I've definitely been in that position where I've sculpted something, it's took me so long, and when I pull it out of the mold, I want it to be as perfect as possible because I want to display the sculpture somewhere else. And what's going to happen is you're going to focus so much on trying to save the mold or trying to save the sculpture, you might mess up on the mold. From my experience, I say the better you make the mold, the more likely the sculpture is going to come out okay. Because if you're making a mold the right way or as best as you can, you're making it in a way so when you're casting pieces and you're pulling the pieces out, you're demolding it, the casted piece comes out as swiftly and as easily as possible. So if you're making your mold designed to do that, the clay sculpture should, in theory, come out as untouched as you can possibly get it. But what I've seen a lot of sculptors do is after they demold it and the sculpture gets a little jacked up, they just go back and resculpt it and then they display it, which I've done before. I really appreciate a sculpture that I've worked on, so I'll demold it. It's a little messed up, just fix it up a little bit and then just hang it on my shelf. I don't really care if it looks perfect because, I'm just going to cast something out and that's going to look perfect. But if you do want to preserve your sculptures just because you're really emotionally attached to it, because it is your first sculpture and you're super proud of it and you want to keep that clay sculpture around forever, yeah, I would say as long as you do a good mold, it'll come out as best as it can, and then whatever gets messed up, just resculpt it. There's no harm in resculpting it.
He said that's a very fair point. If I make the mold how it should be, it shouldn't be too much of a problem.
Yeah.
And he also said, what do you mix the hydrocal with?
Water.
Water.
And it's weird. Hydrocals are really weird. It's like a powder. It's like cement. It's like plaster cement. And when you're mixing it, you kind of have to measure out as much water as you're going to use. And you kind of just sift your hydrocal onto the water until it turns into a dry riverbed. And you just do it slowly. It's not a rush. You can't pour the hydrocal in there and mix it, because what will happen is the hydrocal will turn into little kind of clay balls. If you ever try to mix, I don't know, pancake mixer into water, and then you just mix it real quick and it just gets clumpy and then there's stuff stuck to the spoon. So you have to let all of the water fully absorb into the hydrocal before you mix it. So you sift it onto the water, and once it turns into a dry riverbed, you know that all the water has absorbed into it. And then once that happens, then you can go in and start mixing.
He said, the only reason I want to preserve it is so I can immediately start on the Grime Reaper, which is because his Michael Myers is the Rob Zombie one.
Yeah.
And so over the course of 2 movies, it rots away and becomes like a half face mask. So he wants to do it where he sculpts the clean one, then he sculpts a slightly cracked one, then a more rotten one, and just do the whole process, but with the same sculpt, so it's not like another ground up sculpt of the same thing slightly altered.
So if that
slightly alters the original sculpt.
So if that's the case, where there's a big difference in trying to preserve a sculpture for the sake of, wanting to keep it around, or trying to preserve a sculpture for the sake of redesigning it for another sculpture, I guess your best bet is, if you do the mold good enough, as good as you can get it, it should come out fairly untouched. Obviously the ears, if it's a hydrocal mold, the ears are probably going to get ripped off. There's no running away from that. But when molding it, you want to make sure you're molding the seam on the highest points of the face. Even if it means kind of wrapping it around, as long as you get it on the highest points, the mold should separate evenly. Because as soon as, like, see, if this is the highest point of my face and I mold it back here, I created a lip. So the hydrocal being as stiff as it can, it's going to need to pass that hill. And if it's not here and it can't pass this way, it's going to rip through it. And that's why you have tearing on your last mold that I saw. Because it was a little too far back, or I think it was a little too far forward. It was either too back or too far forward, and it just ripped the face off with it. But as long as you get it right on the high point, it should come off perfectly. And yeah, the ears might get a little jacked up, but I say just put them back in and try to resculpt it, try to replicate it to the original sculpt as best as you can. And if it's going to be aged, I'm sure any visible imperfections might not be as noticeable. I know that's like a lazy way of saying it doesn't have to be perfect, but as long as you can get it as perfect as you can, if you're going to be sculpting an aged version of the mask, it might be a little easier to clean up.
You said you got any snacks in your shop?
I got Brandon.
He's like me. But you beat me to it.
Yeah. No. When I work, I don't tend to eat. But when I don't work, I definitely eat. I just keep a water bottle around me at all times. One thing I do get is dehydrated easily. I drink water like crazy. I'll go through like, I don't know, maybe like 5 or 6 water bottles, which it might be average for a normal person, but I don't see a lot of people that drink water a lot. So compared to other people, I feel like I drink a good amount of water, like 5 to 6 bottles a day of water. So I definitely have those lying around all my shop. I kind of toss most of them today, but definitely like there and in my trash can, it's just tons of bottles of water.
Christopher Rodriguez, how much for your company? I'm willing to give you $2 and a high five. That's price right there.
Yeah, no. Yeah, this company has been my sole goal for my whole life is to make this a thing, make this company name a thing. I mean, if you want to buy it, I don't know. What do you gotta come at me with like either like a $250,000 and I don't know, a better promoting opportunity. I don't know, because I could change my name to Designing Night Image. And
No,
you
that's
can't
terrible.
copyright me.
That's terrible.
I'll just change the name slightly, so it's a completely different company, and I'll change the logo of the ears slightly, so it's a completely different company. And I'll use the money that you bought my company from to help build this new company that's very similar to my old company, but not legally too similar to my old company. I already did. That's why I'm here.
No, I mean, you're in Head Image Design's job.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so you already went into sculpting with Brandon, but specifically he said any tips on getting in micro details?
Micro details.
Little tiny boys.
I guess there's like it's depending on what you're doing. Because if you're doing human skin, your tools are going to be very different from if you're doing monster skin. With monster skin, you're using more of like a rake tool, like a pointed rake tool, which is like something like this. If you can see, I don't know if you can see. It's like that. It's like a pointed rake tool for like, wrinkles, and you also use this on skin texture too, like around the neck. It's mostly lines. There is some goosebumps. There's no real lines in here other than your eyes. You have bags under your eyes. On the top of your head, I don't believe there's any lines. It's just very porous, very spotty. And when it comes to like pores, honestly, you'd probably use something like this too. Just poke at it. Sometimes you use like a clear bag to help like soften the amount of wrinkles you're poking in there, or the amount of pores you're poking in there. So it's not like a harsh stab. It's more like you create like a little crater. Or if you want to go the lazy way, I guess. It's not really a lazy way. It's just a different technique. You'll get like a sponge, like a very like harsh sponge or something, and you kind of just tap texture onto it. Our skin has lots of pores and lots of bumps, so kind of creating that dimensional layer to it kind of helps make it look realistic. So when I did my Frankenstein, I went all pores and wrinkles, and I used specifically this tool because it was such a small sculpture, and because it was so small, I had to use like a bag to kind of like soften each little pore, and I just had to go in really, really softly, and it took me a while. It took me like a couple weeks just to do all the pores. But sometimes you could just use like a comb, like a dog comb. If you cut out a little piece and it has very like sharp edges, same principle as like a sharp tool like this, and you just spot it out. And then sometimes with him especially, I went in with some. I was using NSP medium, this clay, and you can dilute this clay by adding lighter fluid. So like any kind of lighter fluid, really. You just put a little bit of lighter fluid. You grab a bunch of these, make some chunks, pull out some little chunks, drop them in there, wait for it to dissolve it, and then you mix it. And you keep adding this clay until it turns into like a consistency of toothpaste. And I would grab like a chip brush, cut the ends of it so the bristles are pretty stiff. I would dip it into the diluted NSP medium, and I'd kind of just flake it on there, and it kind of splatters little spots, which creates like a goosebump effect. And I did that with him because he was so tiny. It was hard to kind of like go in there, especially without like a magnifying glass, and kind of, which I did at some point. You would have to go in with like a little tiny tool like this, dip into the what's it called again? The diluted NSP medium, and you kind of just like meticulously add all those little bumps. Or you could go in with this. You poke like a little hole, and you kind of lift up, and it creates like a little bump effect. But there's a little hole there where you stuck the tool in. So you'd go back in with the brush and the NSP medium, and after you made a bunch of these little bumps, you go in with the brush and you swipe right across where the hole is, so it seals the hole, but it leaves the bump effect, and that's another way to make skin texture, or I guess like chicken skin.
He said, "What the heck? That's genius."
And then with like wrinkles, using like a rake tool like this is ideal. And when making pores and making wrinkles, everything has to have direction and flow. You can't just make him all spotty and then expect it to look realistic. I mean, we stare at human beings every day, almost every second of every day. And when seeing a replication of that, your brain already knows what's wrong with it, why it looks weird, why it's not realistic, because it's already identifying the flaws in it. So with a human face, all your pores have direction. Especially around here, your pores kind of flow down. You have wrinkles that stretch across your forehead right here. They don't go this way unless you have like the little crease like I do right here, little frowny face. They all have direction. They all kind of flow into itself. Your neck, you have wrinkles that go all along here. And if you were just to kind of pretend like, oh, like humans have like pore wrinkles that go this way, they have lines, on their nose, on their cheek, on their ear. You start adding like pore textures on your ears, because your ears are just like textured. There's no pores on it. There's no real goosebumps. It's just like a textured. I don't know how to explain it. It's just like a textured piece of flesh. If you try to blend all that together, it's not going to make sense to a human eye. So trying to understand that part of the anatomy is very important to making something look realistic. And that goes into just studying what a human face looks like. Sometimes you just get, a picture. You take a picture of a human face, and with a different colored marker, a different colored pencil, you go in there and you start marking all the pores in all the directions they're going in. And so in the, like, let's say around the nose, you start with the dots, because all you're seeing is dots. And you notice the pores are getting longer here. Well, you're tracing the pores. And then you see lines here, you start drawing the lines. And you realized when you look at it, even though it's like a big, mess, you realize there's flow to it. It's not just a big textured mess. And I guess that would be my best way to advise you to learn how to add pores and wrinkles, is just seeing the realistic movement of how they're stretched across a human's face.
Brandon said you definitely reassured him on saving his sculpt.
Yeah, definitely. It'll come out. And if it doesn't, well, it's another opportunity for you to learn to sculpt again. Like I said, you do it the first time, it's going to come out okay. You do it the second time, it's going to come out better. You do it the third time, it's going to come out even better. Even if you want it to look as good as the second time, even though you can make it better the third time, you'll be more accustomed to doing it the third time, that it might be easier to replicate it the way you did it the second time.
Yeah, and you've seen his first sculpt to second sculpt.
Yeah.
Like, it's night and day.
Yeah, Brandon, I saw your first sculpt of the Michael Myers mask. It was pretty good. And then once you did it the second time, it was a big difference. The first one was good, but the second one was way better. And you can just see how much it takes just to improve. All it takes is just one more shot at an art piece to just completely evolve to the next level. What
Right
he said.
now is you talking about his sculpt, and he was texting me on Instagram, and the text bubble stopped. Like, he stopped typing. He's just listening to you now. I told him, keep asking questions. He's giving us good conversation.
Yeah, Brandon, you got good
But
questions.
bro, we've almost went through all of his questions.
What are we at? How many hours are we at the
About
live stream?
An hour and a half, maybe a little bit more than an hour and a half.
Hour and a half. So I'm going to stop this live stream at 2 hours, just because I don't want this video to go on way too long, especially for the people that want to rewatch it back. I feel like 2 hours is enough. But I think I'm probably going to be here back to live streaming maybe every other Friday. And if it becomes a very consistent thing where I know a lot of people want to join and see, and maybe I can bring people or guests or whatever that want to come talk on this, which is technically a podcast at this point. But I enjoy it because I get to spend time sculpting while actually, communicating with you guys about, just things, whatever you guys want to talk about. It's cool. So, so I'm probably going to do this not next Friday, but maybe the following Friday again. So if you guys want to come back and enjoy the live stream, that would be great.
I'll be back.
Yeah, Brandon will definitely be back.
And he said, oh yeah, that first sculpt makes me want to puke.
And I've gotten to that point too where my goal is to appreciate my sculpt for at least 3 years before I want to throw it away, because especially because I started later as a sculptor, my level of improving is very noticeable. Like I said, the better you are, it's harder to see how much you've improved until like a longer time span. But when you've only been doing it for a few years, it's kind of easier to see. So my goals with my sculptures is to not want to throw them away after a year, because I've definitely done that. where after a year I look at it and I'm like, wow, that's garbage, and I just stop selling them, or I just throw the mold away. But yeah, hopefully with this Godzilla, I'll appreciate it for at least the next 3 years before I want to throw up. I know my Frankenstein, I'm getting to that point,
It's just
but
'cause we're always working on them.
yeah,
They're always in our face.
Frankenstein's always in my face, and I think what keeps me at bay with him is I'm improving better at airbrushing. Airbrushing is a very new thing to me. I've only started airbrushing like a year ago. Like it's literally only been a year since I bought my first airbrush, and I'm kind of just getting the hang of it. So the better I get at airbrushing, the less I hate my sculpture, because the better the paint job is. Like, it's easy to turn a crappy sculpture great with okay with an amazing paint job, but you can easily make an amazing sculpture look garbage with a horrible paint job.
And you could even see that when you look at your first paint job on those.
Oh my God.
To the newer one.
If I had a picture of my first paint job I did on one of my Frankensteins, it was awful. It was so bad. And not even that, I clear coated it with a gloss because I wasn't familiar with the levels of clear coat. I didn't know there was like a matte, then a satin, and then a gloss. So I went with gloss because I'm like, well, our skin is shiny. And, oh my God, that one's gone. It's long gone in the trash. But yeah, I am appreciating that through each paint job I do, my sculptures look better and better.
Yeah, and it's also it's a better shot when we go back to Monsterpalooza, because imagine the Frankensteins you would have put out last year if we had that
God.
Monsterpalooza, compared to, honestly, we probably won't get Monsterpalooza at the beginning of this year.
Yep.
If we do it, it'll be Sonapalooza
So
after they issue vaccines, if that's even if that takes care of the problem.
So yeah, for those of you that don't know, I do a show, or I used to do a show.
You did a show maybe once.
I did a show maybe once. I was lined up for 2 years. I paid for my spot and everything for Monsterpalooza. It's like, if you're hearing a squeaking sound, it's my chair. It's so loud.
It ain't that bad.
But yeah, I used to do a show called Monsterpalooza, and it was amazing. It's a convention that is just dedicated to monsters and the effects industry, and it's like an amazing environment to be around and to sell to people that love as much of these characters as you do. And I did it for a year, sold some of my Godzillas, or my little Godzillas. If you didn't know, I make these mini Godzilla heads. Here's a casting of one. Is this a good one? Yeah, it's a good one. That's how I know that I did it.
No, that might be one that I did.
No, yours were all. I'm just kidding.
You
Who
did
knows?
mine.
But yeah, Brandon's been casting these for me, or I've been teaching him to. But yeah, these are little Godzilla heads. I did an awful paint job for them the first year I sculpted this. This actually took me it was like a day to 3 days to sculpt because it was so tiny. It took me hardly any time to sculpt. But yeah, the paint jobs for that were horrible. When I sold them at the show, they were glued on with like super glue, which was retarded. Like, because there's a little base that goes onto it that it glues on, and it's not keyed on, so there's not much strength. So the glue would just snap off because it's super glue. Super glue is not really meant for like rigid pieces unless, there's no lip, no edge. Like if you were to glue two like rectangles together, you probably wouldn't take it off. Anyways, yeah, it was very easy to snap. So I started using this other type of like cement glue. I started painting them differently, and they're like way better now, the paint jobs. But yeah, I look back and it was kind of embarrassing to think that I sold those pieces at Monsterpalooza, especially these little Frankenstein busts I made a while back. I don't think I have any more of those. I discontinued that line, but those were terrible.
I think we have one in here, but I don't know where it's at.
I sold it to Chris.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, but yeah, I stopped making those because the sculpt was terrible. It was really bad. The paint job was equally as bad. And then once I upgraded to making here, if you guys haven't seen this, if you guys don't follow me on Instagram, This is my Frankenstein sculpture. This is my new one, my new model. I don't have the windmill because the guy that I shipped it to, I shipped one of these to some guy, and taking it out of the box, he broke it. So I shipped him a new one. So instead of redoing a new one and shipping it out, I just took it off this guy and sent it. But yeah, he has this. He has this windmill that goes on the back, the little paddle. But yeah, ever since I started doing that guy, I threw out the other sculptures. But hopefully with this Godzilla, I'll keep for a while. And it seems like my little Godzillas, even though like they're starting to become just not that great, people really like them, and they like them so much, even though I'm not really a huge fan of them anymore. You know, I'm gonna keep them around. Like I started coming up with like also like new ways to paint them too. So I have like this. I was thinking about making like a bronze version of it. Just because like people like them so much, I want to do something different with them, and I can easily just like change the paint job. But I feel like when you cast it, there's different avenues in which you can go to make it cool, and make it different. Like one way I want to cast them is with clear, and I think I have a prototype I did. It's really bad, but it's an example.
But that's why it's a prototype.
Yeah. So this is a little prototype I did of one. This is clear, and I kind of just brushed paint over the surfaces I would want to be like solid. You want to hit those lights right there? There's switches on the back of it. Not those. Right here.
Oh, gotcha.
There's switches right there.
First day on the track.
That's all good. Yeah, it has like a little LED in there. Yeah, this is all clear with a little LED. All those dark areas are just painted black. It's very crude. That's why it's a prototype. And then you can see the little battery pack at the end of it. It's just really pathetic. I need to figure out a way to find something that's a little bit more portable where I can just stick it on the end of it, or in the bottom of the base. But at Monsterpalooza, I called it the candy line. It was a set of, it was like a rainbow set of, I think it was like 6 or 5, and they were all painted very glossy and chrome with like these vibrant like blue. One was like blue, one was red, one was, you know, green. It was like the primary colors, or the colors of the rainbow. And those sold like, I think it was like the first or second day, which was great. But I could see people liked unique things. People love Godzilla. But yeah. I'll keep those little sculptures around for a while, even after I finish this boy. Hopefully sometime soon. Look, I take the clay out of the refrigerator and it's already like stiff because it's so cold. I don't know if you can see my breath, but it's getting worse. But
Brandon said that was free cost. Does Rob have COVID?
No, I don't have COVID.
It doesn't matter because he's here alone all the time.
Yeah, I don't socialize. All I do is work. So if I'm gonna get COVID, it's gonna be either from Brandon, and that's really it. I don't really like hang out with my family as much as I should. Or yeah, I'd probably get it from my sister. Just kidding. She's probably watching right now.
Anna said your light up Godzilla is really cool.
Oh, thank you. But thank you, and I appreciate that. But yeah, I definitely would not get COVID. If there's one person that's not gonna get it, it's me. I'm gonna be the last person on the planet. Someone would have to come in here to hand it to me.
You'll eventually suit up as the scavenger and just take on that story.
Yeah.
Just follow that story arc in real life.
Mm-hmm. What are we at the live stream?
Let's see. Does it say on here?
I'm trying to. Huh.
What the heck, man?
Ah. It's fine. Oh yeah, it's right
Well,
there.
we start at 7,
It's,
it's 8:45, so 15 minutes.
Yeah, like in like 15, 20 minutes, I'll end the live stream.
I'll say it's time to start thinking of an outro, so you don't just cut it off.
Yeah, just gonna be like, and then cut it off. Leave everybody in suspense. But yeah, to anyone that's tuning into the live stream right now, I appreciate it. Thank you guys for coming. I'm sculpting in like 40-degree weather right now, but the clay's keeping my hands warm. The talking is keeping my lungs warm. So I'm gonna keep going until the last 15 minutes. But yeah, not this Friday, but next Friday I'm gonna do another live stream. And like I said, I might do it just like every other week or twice a month or 3 times a month. And if it becomes a recurring thing where people really enjoy it, I might just do it every Friday. It's kind of effortless, but very enjoyable to do. So yeah, stay tuned next Friday for another live stream.
And Brandon just commented, "Hey Rob, I want to tell you an upcoming project for Brandon, meaning for me."
Yeah.
He says, want him to see me typing this, so he's curious 24/7. What a douche. Which he told me that he wants to make me something for my birthday, which is in 2 months, but that's all I know. And I'm assuming that's what he's talking about right here.
Yeah, just DM me, man. Let me see what you got.
Let's check Instagram just to make double
Yeah, let's
check.
check some Instagram.
He said, Brandon DM'd me and said, "Bro, I'm having fun. I'm over here laughing in my room. My parents are like, what the fuck is wrong with you?" He said, "I just need some goldfish and my mom's permission to go past my bedtime."
Yeah, thank you guys for watching, everyone that's staying up. Not staying up, it's 8:46. I don't know what
You
time's
never know.
everybody's bedtime, but yeah, if you are like a 8 o'clock sleeper, thank you for staying up past 8 to watch this. And then to all the people on my Instagram, I really appreciate all the love on the scavenger post I picked. The scavenger picture I posted. It's probably the most. It's the most likes I have.
How many?
It's at 700 even. 700 likes.
That's good.
So thank you guys for liking that. I really appreciate it.
And if those people tuned into the premiere...
Yeah, and if those of you that saw my post tuned into my YouTube channel and are watching this because of that post, thank you. I really appreciate that. And if those of you that are watching this are just friends and family, I really appreciate that too. Because I know there's a consistent amount of people that are watching this right now. And that's really cool.
They just turned on their TV and left the house.
Yeah, they just turned it on. You guys are just turning it on and just... Yeah.
Which is clutch.
Which if you're doing that, I appreciate that too. If you're just turning on the live stream and just setting it aside in your room just so I have people watching, I appreciate that too.
We'll take it however we can get it.
Yeah. What about you, Brandon? Do you have any questions for me?
When am I going to get a paycheck?
So, Brandon constantly asks me when am I going to pay him?
Which is sarcasm.
And
he's paying me in knowledge.
The question is, I never will. With Brandon, if those of you that don't know Brandon, I wish you can come here and come say hi.
They saw me when I took my head out.
Yeah, they don't want to see it again.
Even though they did see it twice.
I've been mentoring Brandon in a way to kind of take over some responsibilities in the shop, because right now my focus is finishing sculptures, focusing on marketing myself, focusing on, just sales, and there's a lot of things that I can't maintain, which is certain labor aspects of the shop, and I've been kind of handing off some of those responsibilities to Brandon as a way of offering him opportunity to learn while kind of helping me out. And he's always bringing up the comedic question of when I'm gonna get paid, of when he's gonna get paid. And the answer is...
And the answer is when you get paid.
The answer is when I get my first paycheck.
No, but we're going to help out each other in ways. Because
Yeah.
I have decent ideas.
Brandon has been a big help in the shop, and I appreciate all that. But when things get serious, it's great because when I have that extra hand, more stuff gets done, more projects get started on, and it just becomes a more consistent flow. Because my goal is like, yes, it could get there. There could become a point where the shop gets big enough and I need like a dozen hands or something like that. But I'd prefer not to, especially with the things I'm trying to do. It's more independent work rather than, blood, sweat, and tears work. Trying to, shoot out 100 castings of something in a couple days and I need a massive crew, like that might be a possibility at some point. But like I said, if we're talking about like my goal and what this is all going to be, it's just going to be, a sculpting channel. Like I just want to sculpt and do cool stuff like that. So having someone like Brennan learn all those aspects of the things that I can't juggle, it's really helpful.
That's a solid answer, but a paycheck would be nice.
But a paycheck would be nice at some point, Brandon.
And Brandon Compton, I'm telling you, if it were us three in a shop, we'd be partying. And that's exactly why you don't live in California with us, so we could get some kind of work done.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because having Brandon in the shop, Brandon number 2.
Brandon number 1, I'm older and you know me in person. Why am I number 2? Because I'm the shit.
Brandon number 2, he yeah, it's kind of hard to work with him because he's always making me laugh. But it's fun.
Hard to work 'cause you're not paying me.
Yeah, it's nice because you don't have like a boring prune trying to act like they know what they're doing when they're not. Trying to finish your sentences when you're trying to teach them. He's very submissive when it comes to learning, which is great because he just wants to absorb rather than impress.
You already know I don't know anything, so there's no point impressing.
Yeah, but I've already tried to teach other people that want to impress by acting like they know. It's like, who are you trying to fool, bruh?
I'm like, you already know I don't know anything, so I'm not gonna fake it. But we got 8 minutes, so whatever you want to.
8 minutes left. So if
and Brandon also said about the partying, he said working. Sorry, autocorrect. I meant to say working.
Sure.
We already know.
So 8 minutes left. So if anybody has any questions or anything they want to ask, just please let me know before this live stream ends. And like I said, I'll be here next Friday for you guys. Same time at 7 p.m. just seems like the most, like the best time for me to start all this, most appropriate time or whatever. People are off of work.
Next Friday is in 2 weeks.
Next Friday, as in not this coming up Friday, but the following Friday.
So February 12th.
February 12th. I'm going to be doing my next live stream. And I'm just going to be working on this. Same thing. These videos aren't really just me showing you how I'm sculpting. I mean, it could turn into that at certain points during the video. But it's really just a time to just kind of talk with everybody while working. Like, it's fun. It's something unique. It's something I want to try. There's no real purpose, no goal. It's a podcast with content. I don't know. A podcast is content in itself, but there's just. Have you ever guys watched Hot Ones? That interview
Are we gonna
YouTube
be doing
channel?
that while sculpting?
No, it's just like an example of applying something different to something that already exists, such as interviews or podcasting. So it's just applying something new to it. But yeah. By the way, this was a hassle. Like, I had no idea how to stream. I had no idea how to do all this, and I already committed to it before I figured out what I had to do. And yesterday, I spent all day trying to figure out how to set everything up. And once you set everything up and you get it all put together, you realize how simple of a task it is. It's not really difficult. You just need the right things. Like, there's a certain adapters I was missing for my camcorder. There's a lot of There was softwares I was missing for my computer in order to do this. But once I got all that, once I put everything together, it was very easy. So at first, yeah, this was really difficult to get set up. And even then, like, I bought, like, just for context, like this mount right here came in probably like an hour before this live stream started. And I ordered it on eBay because eBay is so reliable, and I have Amazon, or I ordered it on Amazon, and Amazon's so reliable that it was like a next day shipping. So I bought this yesterday, and it came in barely today, which was great. But it's a real helpful tool, especially when I'm working here, and this thing is just hanging out right here. But yeah, what time are we at?
We got 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
So, I guess we could say YouTube is a work in progress.
Okay, yeah.
We're still figuring out what type of videos to do, but we kind of have
So-
3 or 4 decent ideas.
So here's something you guys can probably help me out with. I'm always open to ideas, especially if the people that are subscribing to me, which I recently received like 8 subscribers within the last 2 days, which might not seem a lot for some people. For me, it's freaking huge. In just 2 days. So, just like if there's any ideas, anything you want to see, just, I don't know, put it in one of the comments in my videos. DM me on Instagram. I'm still trying to work out, what is it I want to do here. I have a broad, idea, or like a very vague idea, which is just maintain the concept of sculpting, practical effects, but I also want to do, like, I'm not a huge cosplayer. That's why I don't like using the word cosplay, because I don't do much with the costumes other than finish it, take a picture, and maybe make it a video. But if there is like certain things like that you guys want to see, like, just let me know. Like, I do want to maintain that that kind of movie aspect of things, as far as like making costumes, making props, making cool stuff like that. But as far as like what to make, like I said, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so the majority of the things I'm going to be making is related to that. I'm also a huge Jurassic Park fan. I'm not opposed to sculpting a life-size T-Rex head. I have the resources for it right now, which is great. So that could be a possibility. I sculpted a huge Triceratops skull out of foam. That's also on my Instagram. But I'm going to be doing things like that. But if there's any other things you guys have in mind, like I said, I'm doing the podcast. I'm going to be doing like production film quality, or production, like movie quality videos of my sculptures. Every new project I do of a sculpture is going to have like a film. The Frankenstein, sadly, I wasn't able to do a movie quality video of that one, but I am having a painting session of that Frankenstein done with the whole like cinematic look to it, and that's done by my buddy Alan. He's an amazing like cinematographer. Sorry, he's an amazing cinematographer, and he's working on a lot of stuff for me. He's the one that did the Mimic video that I made, and he's helping me on making a video for this guy too. So that's why I'm not like so keen on making sure you guys are like I'm trying to get so much done for this sculpture, because you're gonna see the process in a video that's already getting done. This is just a time for us to.
I want to also show a scavenger teaser.
You wanna?
I mean, that is the biggest thing he's done. Yeah,
he is working on finishing the scavenger trailer. You can see the scavengers right there on the mannequin. I would show a little clip of it right now, but it's going to come out next Saturday, so just be patient. It's really good. Brandon's buddy, Saul, he's doing the music for it, and I'll probably share the music for it, a little snippet of the music. It's not finished. It's a rough draft, but even if it was the finished draft, I think it's great. Let me see if I can find
Yeah,
it.
because you had to get as close as possible to Star Wars music without it being Star Wars music.
Yeah, I had to make sure. I asked him to make sure it wasn't too close to anything Star Warsy where I could get copyright. It's not like I can make money off of these videos yet, anyways. But still, I don't like the idea of someone owning my video after all the hard work I put in. Do you remember what the... Oh, sample orchestra. Here, I'm going to skip it to the good part.
Climax.
And then it gets more intense.
Yeah, I'd save the intense part for
Just wait till it gets to it. There. So, yeah, that's just a little like teaser of what the music for the trailer is gonna sound like. But yeah, I'm really excited for it. We worked on it really hard. We worked on it really hard. We worked really hard on it, even though it's so quick. But there was a lot of time put into me making that suit. We drove out into the desert, probably like 5 miles into the desert on a 4-cylinder Kia.
It was the worst scenario, but it was also the best scenario because nothing bad happened.
Yeah, nothing happened. My car was fine afterwards. But we went off-roading on like a 4-cylinder Kia. I can't even believe we did that. It was a black Kia, so when I came back, it was a brown Kia. And we drove like 4 miles into the desert to find this rocky hill. And we had to shoot it before the sun set because where we were filming was like about right here. And then the sun was setting over here. But right here was like another cliff or another like mountain. So we kind of scheduled it out so that we could film it before the sun sets, but we didn't take into consideration that cliff area. So the sun was technically setting faster because it was casting a shadow right over where we were filming. So it was just like a huge rush on the end scene.
Yeah.
So
and it was like 5 to 6 hours finding the location.
Yeah.
And like maybe 45 minutes to an hour to shoot it.
Yeah, we spent about like 40 minutes
super stressful.
finding the location, about like 20 minutes filming it, and we left my house at 9 o'clock, and we drove over down to Barstow, and it took us up until 7 o'clock. It was like 6 o'clock
Yeah, it was like 6:30 when we started to get the big shot.
when we started getting the shots. So it was like, took us almost 12 hours just to set up for filming. It was crazy, but it was fun. And like I said, it's the trailer, so if we end up doing a whole feature film of it, I'm just going to take a trailer and we're all going to camp out in the desert for a week without showering and without... Just get a water bottle and rinse yourself off every morning.
Hell no.
But it's gonna be fun. Hopefully, it gets to that point where I have enough people donating where I can possibly do that. This is it's been a project of mine that I've always wanted to do. So making that feature film come true would be amazing. Or if like Jon Favreau sees the scavenger clip and wants to make that into a Disney Plus series, that'd be sick too. But that's more unlikely. But
So Brandon said, glad this is a full-blown thing. Effects, serious setting, new music. Seriously can't wait.
yeah.
And it's 9:04, so
It's 9:04. The live stream is ending. So, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for all the people that participated in asking questions and watching the video through the whole thing. I really appreciate it. For staying up past 8. I know for a lot of people it might be.
past 9 now.
Brandon's bedtime is 6. So, I appreciate anyone that stayed up to watch this. Next Friday, I'm going to be doing this live stream again. So,
12th.
7 o'clock, the 12th. of February, I will be back here working on Godzilla again. He might be a lot farther. But yeah, if you guys have any questions or anything, save them for next Friday, and I'll answer them then. So, without any more interruption, I'm going to end this live stream. And thank you guys for watching again. This is Robert Tirado on the Night Image Designs podcast. So, I'm sorry. And Brandon's here too, helping out. So I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Bye.